named after Piper Kuzer, whose picture is up on the wall, and Jeannie Kuhn. Piper is one of the children with intractable epilepsy whose parents have now moved her from Tennessee to Colorado so that she can access a legal cannabis-based medicine out there. Jeannie Kuhn died of cancer in the mid to late 90s, so 20 years ago, but even then she and many cancer patients in Tennessee knew to use cannabis to reduce nausea associated with chemotherapy. Jeannie was very demonstrative about that and even got St. Thomas Hospital to let her use in the hospital because it was in her basic interest. This was 20 years ago. So come on in and join us. We're just getting started. Pardon? Oh, there'll be other folks here. We are just getting rolling. I'm Bernie Ellis, the author of the bill, and let's just quickly go around and just tell me which counties you're from.
Coffee County.
Coffee County.
Davidson.
Shelby.
Williamson.
Great.
Davidson.
Okay. Murray. Okay.
Davidson.
Murray also. Davidson. Davidson and Davidson. What? Jackson County. Okay, and I'm also Murray County. So I'm going to go through this quickly. If you will, hold your questions. There'll be time for the end. But as I tell people when I give talks out of state, if you learn nothing else, you're going to learn that all Southerners don't talk slow. I'm going to try to get through quite a bit here. We have been discussing medical cannabis with the legislature for 6 or 7 years now. And in 2010, they gave us quite a bit of attention and allowed us to testify for close to 2 hours. Since 2010, when they did that, when our legislature did that, 8 more states have already established medical cannabis programs, and actually that number may be out of date also. I believe we're up to 21 states in the District of Columbia. The Veterans Administration since 2010 has now changed its policy, so any veteran using medical cannabis in a legal state will no longer be denied VA services, which they were being denied prior to that change in policy. The National Cancer Institute, the largest institute within the the National Institutes of Health, if you go on their website now, they have 10 full pages of information on the use of cannabis and cannabinoids for cancer patients. Each one of those pages by itself makes the lie that this is a Schedule I drug, when a federal agency will say there are a host of benefits of using this drug. Since in the last 2 years, we've had over 4,000 more peer-reviewed medical journal articles written on the benefits of cannabis. We're now up to over 22,000 articles in the worldwide medical press that document the benefits of this substance. 4 U.S. governors, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, have all petitioned the Department of Justice directly as governors to reclassify cannabis out of Schedule I so that their state, either medical cannabis or now recreational cannabis programs, can proceed. Last June of 2013, the Department of Justice released a memo announcing that it would no longer interfere with lawfully established state medical marijuana programs and also recreational programs. They included Washington and Colorado in that. So if your legislator says to you, but it's illegal or but it's registered as a Schedule I drug, you're going to have a response to that. Finally, every survey that's been run for the last year nationwide shows 70 to 80% support for medical cannabis. The state of Florida just did a survey, and in that state, 70% of Republicans supported medical cannabis, 88% of Democrats, 89% of independents supported it. I would not be at all surprised if we hit 70% or greater support in this state if we survey. Now, the Kuzur-Kuhn Medical Cannabis Act is authorizing a program that we're going to call the Safe Access Program. The full name will be Safe Access to Medical Cannabis Program. But the short name for our program is going to be the Safe Access Program. What do we mean by that? Well, by safe, we mean medical cannabis grown, processed, and packaged under rigorous and reliable standards. Come on in. We also, by safe, mean that patients won't have to go to the streets anymore to access cannabis. By access, we mean that patients in Tennessee who are eligible to participate in the program will be allowed to access cannabis as soon as they need it with the approval of their health provider. We call ourselves the most tightly controlled and yet the most patient-friendly program. In Tennessee, patients whose physicians have recommended cannabis will go directly to one of our licensed dispensaries to be registered and obtain cannabis. So they're not going to submit an application that sits on someone's desk for 2 months. And particularly a patient just diagnosed with cancer who's facing chemotherapy in 2 weeks, they need access then. They don't need it 3 months from then. So medical. By medical, we mean cannabis that will be used for serious conditions for which the medical benefits of cannabis have been well established. We start in Tennessee with a baker's dozen of conditions, the most serious conditions that have been approved nationwide in other programs. And unlike every other drug in the state of Tennessee that physicians can prescribe for anything, on or off label, our medical cannabis program will not allow that. A physician can only authorize for a patient in one of our chosen conditions. The patient, though, and the physician, if they're not eligible, will be able to petition the Department of Health and will add new conditions in an orderly fashion. So, and again, by cannabis, what we mean are select varieties of known chemical composition standardized to allow their reliable use for discrete and targeted medical purposes. But as an example, I hope we start with a variety of cannabis options for our patients. I've been thinking about starting with a minimum of 24 choices, with 6 choices each in 4 different THC categories. Just so there'd be 6 choices in the 0 to 5% THC, 6 and 5 to 9, 6 and 10 to 15, 6 and 15 plus. And I want our program to be able to add other varieties as the science merits for that. So again, that's safe access to medical cannabis. That's what we mean. The program has 3 distinct parts. The actual production of cannabis, the farming of cannabis in this state, will be allowed only by farmers who are licensed, trained, and supervised and monitored by the Department of Agriculture. We're not allowing, we're actually silent in the bill on personal grow or neighbors growing for neighbors. We're not prohibiting that, but we're not authorizing it in the bill either. So this is what we're authorizing. Those farmers will be allowed to sell only to licensed processors who will also be supervised, monitored, and overseen by the Department of Ag. As we all know, cannabis is useful in a variety of forms, and those processors will be the ones helping us develop the variety of options like tinctures and oils. The cannabis distribution, our goal is to put cannabis back in the pharmacy as quickly as we can. But until the federal scheduling changes, that's not possible. So our bill authorizes regulated dispensaries who will be directly under the supervision of the Department of Health. Patients, as they register for the program, will also be recorded by the Department of Health. So we'll have a patient registry there. And again, our goal is eventually to close the dispensaries and move cannabis back into pharmacies where it should be. Our plan is to limit the number of dispensaries initially so that this program does not look at all like the streets of Colorado or the streets of California where there's a pot shop on every block. We're authorizing no more than 4 dispensaries per urban health region. So, and there's 6 of those statewide. So the entire Davidson County would only have up to 4 dispensaries to start with. Those will be expanded as need expands. Those 4 dispensaries will be located in medical office parks. They're not going to be on the street corner. There's no reason for any public access to these things. They're there simply to provide to our patients, so we'll put them in a medical office park. Our goals, we have 3 basic goals of the program. Our patients should be able to access medical cannabis as soon as they are considered eligible by their physician, for as long as they are considered eligible without delay. The bill allows physicians to authorize cannabis use for a short period of time, let's say just around the chemotherapy process, or they can approve it for up to a year. Patients will have to renew their cards with their physicians at least once a year. We also want the cannabis made available through our Safe Access program to be of consistent high quality, safe, effective, reliable, and inexpensive. We already know cannabis is the safest therapeutically active substance known to man, according to the DEA itself. We know a great deal about efficacy. Reliability is a key issue. People who are now patients who are accessing cannabis, who go to the street to do it, don't know from one purchase to the next what they're getting, what the chemical composition of it is. Our patients will know exactly what each variety has in it, what its THC level is, CBD level, etc. They'll also all be tested for pesticides, fungicides, molds, anything like that will kick that cannabis out of the program. Okay. The production, processing, and distribution of cannabis through our program will also occur under tightly controlled conditions, and I've pretty much given you a sense of what those conditions are. We're going to have several groups of farmers coming here today, and I'll let each group know that we're starting off proposing that any farmer who wants to go through the process of being licensed and trained and supervised should commit to growing a minimum of 1 greenhouse, which is a 50 by 100 greenhouse. It's equivalent, but no more than 4 greenhouses. Now, 4 greenhouses is a half an acre. 1 greenhouse, again, is what, 1/8 of an acre or so. If we pay our licensed farmers only $1,000 a pound for dried female flowers, which is about 1/3 the wholesale price for illicit pot, even cutting that illegal price considerably, we estimate our farmers are going to be able to make $50,000 to $100,000 per greenhouse gross. So on a half an acre of land, that's potentially almost $500,000. A half-acre operation would require multiple employees to do, so that's certainly not all profit, but it sure beats tomatoes, let me tell you, in terms of the return to the farmer. Here are the eligible conditions in Tennessee: cancer, hepatitis C, HIV/AIDS, multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, post-traumatic stress disorder, glaucoma, Alzheimer's, severe debilitating and chronic pain, and I'm going to come back to that one. Grab a seat. Severe nausea, Crohn's disease, ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, wasting syndrome, and finally a catch-all category for patients who have any other condition that qualifies them for end-of-life hospice care. So if you have one of these conditions, once this program is launched, and your physician authorizes your use, you will be eligible for the program. Now, you don't see up there degenerative joint disease, fibromyalgia, mood disorders, you know, a variety of other conditions that there's pretty